So Noel, I heard you speak and deliver a keynote at the Dublin Chamber, and it was excellent. And I think what I found, I guess, so intriguing about it was how you built your career piece by piece, but it was the winding road, and it was the challenges, and you seized every opportunity that came your way. And I would love to talk about and get into like what that took and learn about your career and the resilience behind it, and just hear it from a leading perspective and someone leading in such a tough industry. So can you, for those that actually don't know your journey, can you talk us through from Spain to your apprenticeship to Grand Slam?
Thanks a million for having me here. And it's been a fun journey and it still goes on. But yeah, I suppose I come from, my dad is an ex-chief super in the Guards. There's a relevance to that in a minute. My mum was a stay-at-home mother, still alive, thankfully. Was a solid C student in school, and I decided to put the head down for the Leaving Cert. My dad and a couple of his friends had a few apartments just together in Spain, off the beaten track, and I asked him, look, if I put the head down for the Leaving Cert, will you let me go to Spain for the summer when I was 17? So he came back and shook my hand. I put the head down, got a half decent Leaving Cert, flew out to Spain the day after I finished my Spanish oral, and got a job as a waiter in Fish Alley, literally on the second day, and worked there 6 days a week for the summer, and I absolutely loved it. It was my first taste of it. I got offered to stay there and run the restaurant in the winter when all the golfers and Scandinavians come over. And my dad, being the tough guy he was, he said, get your arse home and go to college. So I came home, went to college, and hated it. It was like being back in school. Stuck on a bus without the QBCs, with the quality bus corridors back then didn't exist. Just felt like I was in school again, and quit college and badgered the manager of the Blue Haven Farnham to give me a job. And he started me as a second year apprentice barman in the Blue Haven, and that's probably where I started my pub journey, and we went on from there. So a few of us looked at maybe buying a bar in Spain, that we became close.
How old were you at this time?
I was about 19.
God.
Convinced my dad to lend me €10,000 and lost it all.
On this bar in Spain?
On the bar in Spain. It just,
okay.
It happened but never happened. We got the premises but never got off the ground. We were naive. So then I got promoted to assistant manager / kind of manager in Revels and Farm with kind of 19 as well. Kind of got taken out of my last year of apprentice, and it was just the same owner, Tom O'Malley, lovely man. And at 21 then realised I need to start making back this money that I've lost in Spain, and myself and my now best friend Keith Dara decided to take the lease of the Sarah Curran in Rafarnham Village, and we ran that out as the Rafarnham House and the venue. So upstairs at a tough rep, so we turned it into a music venue with comedy and shows. I did that at 21. And I describe that part of my life as Harvard, Yale and Oxford, where we got loads of things wrong and some things right. So as I said, at the night, our first gig was Republic Loose, and there was 550, 600 people there. Mike Pyro falling off the stage, real rock and roll stuff, throwing him back on the stage. Got loads of money on the door, got really well in the bar, and we were like, oh, we've made it. And the next gig crashed, and it was a real mixed bag. So we just learnt loads of lessons. Cash flow was kind of tough. It was a bar downstairs, a lounge, upstairs, a music venue, and a car park. So and then that was going on for about 2 years, and about 23 Keith rang me and in a panic and said TV3 are down here with the cameras rolling, and they want to know what we have to say about laundering money for the IRA. So as you can imagine, that's why I referenced my dad being an ex-chief super in the Guards. My brother Tom is now in the Guards, and ran down to the pub. They were like, they're running the story, and literally at 5:30 that evening, they ran headline news with pictures of the pub, pictures of these boxes of evidence that they insinuated came from the pub, other premises in town, IRA members running around fields with M16s, Northern Ireland bank robbery, and back to the pub again.
Wow.
Obviously none of this ever happened. I think we'd know if we did. Long and short of, they issued an apology the next day.
The next day?
The next day.
Oh, it was this quick?
They realised they just got it incredibly wrong.
That's like, that just sounds...
Back then it was kind of like the Sun newspaper, TV3.
Okay,
it was real sensationalism, and like my dad obviously rang a guy called Felix McKenna, who was in charge of the Criminal Assets Bureau, and was like, what is going on here? And he never told me that phone call. So everyone went running for cover, but you can imagine then at 23 in Rathfarnham, nobody's really, still don't know anybody that saw the apology. You know, it was one of these like 10-second things in the news.
Yeah, flash and gone.
Yeah, flash and gone, but our business was screwed. So nobody, like a business that was in trouble for cash flow anyway, and then nobody wants to be seen to be supporting the local IRA pub, a perceived local IRA pub. So the business just went down the Swanee, and we couldn't. We tried to sell it and move it on. We just couldn't. So we ended up liquidating it at 23, and it was an incredibly difficult experience. All the staff lost their jobs. I was still living at home. We weren't really paying ourselves. I was really broke, like broke as I ever was. Like I was literally down to my last 50 cent.
And did it break you though? So financially broke, but what did it do to even your spirit?
Oh, it was really tough. Like I went through pretty dark times. Probably drank a little bit too much at that age, and but we went and got the staff jobs. That was my main focus first and foremost. Get everybody jobs, and I got contacted by I went working for the Flynns. So Brendan Flynn had contacted his sister's husband, who would have known us, and said, "Look, the Aberley Court Hotel and Tal are looking for somebody." And my feet or my toes would literally come out of my shoes from, like, I couldn't afford to buy new shoes, and my dad saw my shoes and was like, "You need to buy shoes." And then so he drove me into town, and I was like, the whole way in the town I was going, how am I going to pretend to have no shoe size? He was bringing me into Headers who do size 12 shoes. I was like, how? Because I had no money to buy the shoes. And when I was getting out of the car, he handed me €50 to buy shoes. And I bought the shoes, went up, did the interview, got the job, and I got paid really well. I couldn't believe how much I was going to get paid, because I've been paying myself nothing. And I worked for the Flynns for years, and they were lovely people. Brendan Flynn was brilliant. I learned loads from him. And I got paid in the back weekend. Was the longest 2 weeks of my life. But so I was the Aberley Court Hotel general manager, looked after the nightclub and the bars, and then they expanded. They took over McGowan's in Churchtown, which was kind of Rodeo Joe, so I was looking after that. And then they bought the church in town, so it was kind of like overall 3 bars, and it was a brilliant experience. And then I suppose the recession started to hit then, and they were under a bit of pressure, and I figured, you know what, they didn't need me. I wanted something new. I'd been working my ass off since I'd finished, and I became a rep for Richmond Marketing for a year.
Oh, yeah.
So
Are they still around?
Yeah, they're huge now. Yeah. So I was doing Red Bull, Miller, Koppenberg, all that sort of stuff. Worked for them for a year, and then the case with TV3. So what they do in courts is they just try and wear you down. But I got pretty resilient. So got a call. Had a Canadian insurance company, and they wanted to maybe discuss settling the case. So back then, if you're running a defamation case, if you lose it, you'd lose millions. It was just so expensive to run defamation cases. So we used a company called Simon McAleese Solicitors. They were excellent. They ran, no foul, no fee type thing. But still, we would have to pay the costs on the other side. And got a call to go into the forecourts, Ryan Keith. I was like, look, put on your best suit, shine your shoes. And we were still tight for money back then. Rocked in like 2 shiny pennies, filled the old like 1980s briefcases full of newspapers.
Yeah, pens.
Like walked in like 2 sharp guys, didn't need any money, we're stony broke. And we got first offer 50,000, second offer 60,000, next offer 70,000. And people might look and go, why didn't you run the case? But my parents had already been through enough. Like you can imagine, Rathfarnham people living local, dad next chief super in the guards getting accused of laundering money for the IRA. So
just wanted to go away.
Yeah. So I then took that 70,000, gave my dad back the 10,000 that I owed him for Spain. I bought $1.5 of a watch that, can I curse on this?
Oh, you can do what you want.
I used to go, look at my watch, go, fuck you, TV3. Did that for a good while. I then decided to go, and I wanted to open my own bar. Again, give it another go. So the Flynns had a place called New Bar, which was the old Cocoon. People don't remember the New Bar. It didn't go very well for them at the time. One of the brothers was looking after it. It just didn't happen for them. But I liked it because it was one bar, one door, centre of Grafton Street. I could stand behind the counter myself and put other people forward, because I learned that lesson from our farm. Because when you're there, people expect you to be there morning, noon and night. And so I spoke to a guy called David Courtney from Spain Courtney Doyle, took a short lease maybe was it 1 or 2 years at the start, because it was half it was in Nama, and I ran that as the Grafton Lounge, and that's where I got going. So what I have now, I started from that 60,000.
Wow, and it grew from there.
Yeah.
And 23 and to an experience and go through a liquidation, like people don't experience that in a lifetime.
No, it was horrendous.
How has that experience shaped how you take on situations and view challenges today?
You just get a bit punch drunk. You get resilient through it. Like, I remember going into that, we got audited by the revenue. I walked in and had all these tills lined out that we bought second hand, and they reckoned that we'd, after siphoning off hundreds of thousands of euros. I'd never been as broke in my life. And I was like, are you guys for real? I was like, we are broke. I'm living at home with my parents. I'm like, but they got put us through the ringer. And eventually they're like, okay, yeah, like, you guys don't have the money that we think you have, like, we didn't. So my business partner Keith took it really badly. So he went out of the trade for a while. He's back in it now. He owns Revels and the Step In, and he went into Phase Recruitment. And I just got back into it because it's all I ever knew. So I kind of had to, you had to peel yourself off the floor and go again. So I don't know why, you just feel like get up, take your beating, and get up and go again. So yeah, we're in the Grafton Lounge. That was really tough those first few years, really tough. Like I've never bounced a direct ever in my life, but by Jesus, we were close.
In the Grafton.
Like really close. Like that was right in the middle of the recession. So like I remember several times getting calls from my bookkeeper saying like there isn't enough money to pay the wages this weekend. So we'd lie to the staff and say that there was a problem with the banks, and here's a check, and cash on Saturday night. That got that tight in those early years. But I suppose we kind of fought through. There was one really bad snowstorm. It was approximately 15 years ago now, or maybe 14 years ago. And that nearly put me under, because you rely on Christmas when you're in town, and then it didn't happen. But I remember the next couple of months not being so bad because people didn't spend all their money at Christmas. And we gathered enough money to do a Grafton Lounge 2. So we extended it into, there was like an old photo shop next door, so squared it around like it is now, and created this bizarre model, which was like really busy for lunch, dead after that, and then busy at night time. And that took off like a rocket. And that got me, that got the money then to buy the bridge. So I was trying to buy a pub before the recession turned, because I saw that when the market's at the bottom, you try and buy. So I was able to then show that, we knew what we were doing. And at the time then Rob Carney was frequenting the Grafton Lounge a bit. He was injured. And he said that he wouldn't mind getting involved in the pub one day. And then I was like, light bulb moment, man, you can get a pub near the RDS at Viva with a couple of rugby guys. And we looked at Russell's and Renal at the time. Time wasn't great. That went for about 1.6 million. And we didn't have that sort of money. And then Bellamy's and Ballsbridge came for sale. It went on the market for 825,000. I rang Rob and I was like, what do you think it is? We met again, and he was like, what if you got a couple of other guys involved? And so I met him and Jamie Heaslip in the old Bellamy's and had a rotten carvery. And
always inspecting.
Yeah, and you could see people staring at the lads. It was during the height of their career, and I was like, this is the move. And so a man who I respect highly, Charlie Chalk, was going around with a measuring tape. And on the back of that, I went back to the banks and asked for another 100 grand. But we were able to put a lot of money down on it because of how successful the Grafton Lounge 2 was. And we bid 1.35 million, and we were the successful bidders. It was one of the best phone calls I've ever got in my entire life. Tony Morrissey rang me, and he said, look, the first phone calls is always the easiest, and the rest of them are always the toughest. And he was like, this is the first phone call. I remember losing my reason, sitting with my mum and dad in the front room. So it was lovely for them to experience the other side and the bit of joy. So my dad was at the opening of the bridge, which was amazing, and he unfortunately died about 10 days later over in Spain. So, but it was class for him to be there for that. And then Jamie Heaslip used to buy his cigars in a Cuban shop in town, and they were like, oh, would you be interested in buying Bella Cuba? Next door was an old Cuban restaurant. Okay. Then that got stuck in Nama, but we were able to find somebody that could go in and take that out of Nama, and we then expanded the bridge upstairs. So when you go upstairs in the bridge, you can now go left, where you couldn't do that before. That used to be the old Cuban restaurant. That was a great bit of business. And we're tipping along nicely, and then the Grafton Lounge was dipping. So when you're in the late night business, you only have a certain cycle. And the crowd starting to get a little bit funny and a few bits and pieces, and I knew it needed a change. So we set up a Pinterest account, and myself and the lads was, look, would you come in to town with me? And we set up a Pinterest, and I remember one picture we saw on Pinterest of a New York bar with these kind of steel girders at the back and a really cool look. And I really liked it. And we based Lemon and Duke, which was the old Grafton Lounge, Lemon and Duke, off that image. And we worked with O'Donnell O'Neill, and to date it's still going very, very well.
Yeah, it's a stunning bar. And I guess just on the dips of the trade, like we spoke when we met about consumer behaviour, and there's generations now that are not drinking at all, and there's generations that came from teenage into their legal drinking age during COVID, and the rise of non-alcoholic drinks, more food. Like, how do you stay ahead? Like, how do you adapt your business model to keep on top of trends?
Yeah, so in business, I think the first thing I would do, and it was true working for Brendan, was always surround yourself with the best of people. So I try and surround myself with people that are better and smarter than I am, and pick people that are really good at what they do. I've always been pretty good at watching social media and seeing what's happening. So what's going on in New York, or what's happening in London, trends that are coming. But you're right, like there's during COVID, like if you were just turning 18, you wouldn't have been in a nightclub until you were 21. There were 3 years and the nightclubs were closed. So that's why nightclubs have just totally changed now. They're kind of, now people don't go to them. So
it's the 40s and 50s that go now. They're just dying for it.
No, they are. So like, there's definitely been trends, but it's I talk about it a bit as well, is that like economies and trends, they go up and down. And I talk about it like being on a wave and on a surfboard. You have to be able to stay on that surfboard and ride the wave. So what's coming at you now? There'll be dip, but also being up again. The ability to stay on the surfboard. The ability to stay on the surfboard has a lot to do with having good cash flow and reserves. A lesson I learned when I was 23, have good cash flow. It doesn't matter how good your business is. If you don't have cash flow, you're dead. So when COVID hit, I had good cash flow. So obviously I taken insurance out against COVID with FBD, and I just saw it coming and I didn't like it. And I contacted them. I said, look, back to what you're saying, but we were kind of watching things, and took insurance out against COVID, and FBD reneged. And I ended up taking a case against FBD in the middle of COVID to survive. But because I had X amount of money in the bank, myself and the lads had the comfort to go at them. But if I didn't have that, I probably would have had the balls to do it.
Yeah.
So, and thankfully we won that case, and we got, not just me, it was the Stephen Cooney and the lads in Loyola Group, with Chris Kelly and the late Phil Byrne. We ran test cases. Central Bank were brilliant. Got a lot of support of government figures. The public were on our side on it. It was kind of black and white, but we won that case, and 1 in 7 pubs in Ireland were paid out in the back of it. 1 in 7.
Wow. So you're protecting yourself against, it's turnover. Like what is it that you need? What did you need to protect yourself against from?
Whatever's coming at you.
Yeah.
So like you don't know what's going to come around the corner. So if a thing at the moment where it's like, if business is going well and it's nice and quiet, I'm not stirring the hornet's nest, because I know there's something that will come around the corner. So when things are good, keep it good, pay down debt, keep it nice and steady, because there could be a snowstorm. Like there was a snowstorm there where the pubs were closed for 3 or 4 days the last time. Like that has huge impact, because you still have to pay your staff and stuff like that. So you have to be able to take the hits. COVID was a massive kick in the balls, so you just have to be able to be resilient to what comes around the corner at you, and having good cash flow is the key to that, and good cash reserves.
Yeah, and I think part of having such exposure so young as well, having learnt lessons that people don't get exposure to.
I think that's the thing, is that I've taught myself is to learn from mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but don't make them twice. So if I'm like, we do weekly manager meetings, and I don't mind the guy saying they made a mistake, but what I'm trying to teach them is that we don't do it again. So sometimes where we could be critical is we were too slow to make a decision and maybe changing the head chef or something like that, and it can really damage the business. That can happen. We should have changed things in BlackRock sooner, and we didn't. So we're still learning these lessons. And saying, let's not make these mistakes again. So
yeah, it's funny. You've just reminded me of something. So obviously, I work with people that they employ and they grow their teams, and you can make the wrong hire. And sometimes if you sit on something for too long, if it's not the right fit, if it's not the right person, the cost of that 100%. Is detrimental to culture, to finance, to reputation.
Definitely,
it's huge.
It's huge. So on the staff thing, like they are literally the most important thing. We have over nearly 200 staff. It goes up and down, but it's at 200 up around Christmas, and it's probably a bit below that now, but it'll go up again. particularly with the Max Orley's coming. We've never ever been taken to the LRC, and that's something that we're very proud of, because we treat our staff like an extension of our family. And if something happens to them, we mind them and look after them. When COVID hit, when I got the few bob, all the full-timers were looked after from it. But I teach the staff now that with a bad egg, and by Jesus, they're out there, you rip a plaster off. The law is there to protect you for 6 months to a year.
6 months, yeah.
Get them out. If you have someone that's going to come in and cause shit in your business, gone.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I always say to them, doesn't matter how stuck you are, get them out. And that's really stood to us as we expanded.
The price is too high to pay. And your team see it before you do sometimes as well. Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned when you and I have been talking that, you know, you didn't necessarily want it to be about you, because I think at one point your business was the Noel Anderson Group and you changed it.
Yeah, so it stemmed back to when I was 21, 22, working morning, noon and night in Raffarnham House. And I remember a fella came in one day and he says, we came in last night, and he goes, you weren't here. And I'd probably just done like 70 or 80 hours like that week. And I'd gone home at like 10 and he'd come in at 10, quarter past 10. He says, never forget, he says, I come in to support you. And he made me feel like shit.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, absolute prick, you know. So, and
will he know if he watches this? He'll be like, oh yeah, he's talking about me. I can
still picture him, you know. So I said to myself when I opened the Grafton Lounge, it wasn't about me. So I pushed my manager's front of the house.
Yeah.
Nobody knew I was the owner. I was just the guy behind the counter that couldn't make the cocktails, you know.
Okay.
Somebody asked me for, like, I think I could make a mojito, but anything else out of that, I'd be like just shouting it down at somebody else. But I could watch what was going on in front of me and control the business. So then obviously when the lads came, like, it was all about the rugby guys. And then nobody really knew who I was until I became chair of the LVA and vice chair of the LVA in COVID. And then I was on TV morning, noon and night. It was bizarre. And then it was like Noel Anderson. I was like, ugh. And then it was the Noel Anderson Group. But I didn't think that wasn't fair to the lads. And my staff are always pushing me for a group name. And I have a big thing in saying the loudest man in the room is the weakest man in the room. Love that expression. And I was like, well, okay, maybe one more. And then I get one more. I'm like, maybe one more and then we'll do it. And they were like, you have to do it now. So we did it after McSorley's, but a guy called Jimmy Healy that does a bit for the LVA said, what about Grand Slam bars? Obviously the connection with a bit of playing the rugby. And so we set up Grand Slam bars because I didn't like seeing Noel Anderson. Like, it's not just me, it's the lads, and it's obviously Rob, Dave, Jamie and Sean as well, and our staff. So
200 people.
Yeah. I
love how you speak very kindly and with a lot of respect for your staff, and especially the behaviours that you've had over the years, looking after them with COVID. And, there's a real genuine care. Yeah. How do you create an environment where you can empower a sense of like ownership and foster loyalty with your teams? So
I think the person I am now is still the person I am when I was when I was 15, 16. I think that's really important, is to be who you are and don't get carried away with yourself. And to treat people with respect, and if they have issues at home, to look after them. It goes to our previous point, we've got a bad egg, get them out. It's like, and I always say to our guys, work for me if you want to work for me, but please don't work for me if you don't come in and do a job you don't want to do. Life's too short. So, and I thankfully haven't had to say that to too many people lately. And all of our businesses are set up that the general managers nearly run the business. So we do manager meetings on a weekly basis. I just sit in them. I don't overly talk. So the general managers chair the meeting and Tony goes at them about stuff, and I just kind of sit there. And I just have a laugh sometimes, and other times I'll just go out and I go, okay, thanks. Because they are running the business. So I'm like an advisor in it, and I'm working kind of on the business, not in the business. So and so everyone is incentivized to do it. We make sure that the tips are good, and set up an environment where it's tip friendly and service charges, and they get all their money, and the Christmas party savage crack, and that there's just a good, nice atmosphere in work. So because, you know what, I think the customers can sense. You ever go into a pub and you can be like, ugh, like, or a restaurant, and you're like, it's kind of toxic. That's the staff. That's the atmosphere from the staff. They're buzzing around and a bit of crack, and they're like, oh, it's a nice atmosphere here. Staff are happy. Yeah. And is that part of your vision? Like, is that, I think it's just who you are, definitely. But you appreciate that, it's good to look after people, which means they represent you. It's good for business. Yeah, no, I think people sometimes forget that. We're proud of what we have. Yeah. Pride. Like, we want people to look at what we do. I'd often say that to them. We want people to look at what we have and go, they run really good pubs. They're really nice people. Like, if you look at our reviews, obviously people get bad reviews, but the staff keep coming up time and time again, and that's a really good sign. That's great. The role of the pub among the community.
Do you think there's still a community feel to the Irish pub industry, or has it changed?
I think it's more important than ever, particularly down the country. I'd be really concerned about country pubs, and I know lots of country publicans through my time in the LVA, and I love going to a good country pub, and the numbers of country pubs are just going right downhill. And that's the hub of the community. That's where they see each other and socialise and do community events and all that sort of stuff. So a country pub is literally part of our heritage, and it should be protected. It's very important in Dublin, for sure. And I'm part of a community of bars in town, and that community was set up as a few pints, called WhatsApp group called A Few Pints. But A Few Pints is effectively now changing times. We collectively came together to set up a brewery. So I think working together is key, And
offering support. And are pubs, like country pubs, are all pubs having to adapt? What's the sense of it?
If you don't adapt, you're dead.
Yeah.
You don't adapt, you're dead. I remember years ago, so I'm still on the LVA Council, the topic of non-alcoholic drinks coming up. And I was one of the more vocal people to say, we have to embrace this. You have some of the older brigade are like, oh, Jesus. I'm like, no. This is a new trend. This is coming. We have to embrace it. Otherwise, you're going to lose people to Starbucks or insomnia. So we have always embraced non-alcoholic drinks. I think they'll continue to rise, without a shadow of a doubt. But not just, we've come an awful long way from a Beck's non-alcoholic, so I think there's something even worse before that. So yeah, so it's cool for people. It's okay if people don't drink. People are drinking less and less, but you have to adapt. That's why food has become such a huge part of pubs. And really good food. Just saw Searson's one, bar food for the Dublin region, and fair play to them. There's really excellent food in Dublin pubs now, and pubs in Ireland. There's places like, you can see how things are evolving now. If you look at Flight, where I was at Reese Ruddock's stag on Saturday night, we're all playing darts and having the crack.
I was there last night, actually.
Oh, yeah,
it's good fun.
Really good fun. And then you've got down the road, you've got, the lads are doing the golf simulator stuff.
Yeah.
So people are evolving. So it's not just about going for a pint anymore.
Yeah.
It can be mixed things.
There's a real social connection element to it now, eating, drinking, connecting.
Yeah.
I definitely have noticed that as well. And, even in the industry that I'm in recruitment, there's parts of our roles that are under threat by AI and CV reading tools. And I don't think you'll replace the skill of the human for an interview, but there's certain cohorts of our industry, certain parts of our industry that you probably don't need the human touch.
No, it's funny. I'm kind of smiling on the inside. You said that I discovered ChatGPT yesterday for the first time.
For the first time?
And I was like, it blew my mind.
Oh, blew my mind.
Yeah. And I know our social media guys use it. And she was like, well, how do you think we're reacting to stuff so quickly?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just such a really good at your job.
So they're like, damn.
I think
I wish you didn't find out.
AIs are going to really evolve.
Yeah.
And I don't confess to know too much about it, but I'm going to learn pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's happening fast.
But the great thing about the pub trade is that AI can't serve you a nice pint and have the conversation and how are you getting on and how was your shopping and did you get your Christmas presents?
Yeah, where are you off on your holidays?
Yeah. So that's the great thing about a pub is that you go down to meet people, and to we see a lot of females are coming for lunches and stuff. So where it's I don't like to see, for selfish reasons, what's going on with the work to home. It's quite damaging for industry, but I totally get it. But you'll actually see, a lot of women will meet for lunches and the old glass of wine is back out and stuff like that. I remember years ago, 2 girls came in on a Friday and they're like, can we get 2 glasses of wine, but stick them in coffee mugs, in case their bosses came in. Nowadays, people are just back having a beer and having a drink again, for lunch, which is nice to see. So, so look, things change. So it's back to that whole comment. You've stay on the surfboard, see what's going on in front of you and keep evolving. But if you don't evolve, you're dead.
Yeah, and I think for every industry at the minute. And do you think that the bar trade is a career for people nowadays? Are people seeking it out?
The money in the bar trade is unbelievably good. If you're really good at what you do, I know my senior people, when I say senior floor staff, they're doing really, really well. So they get paid really well. and they get tips, and it's something that the retail industry can provide. So if you work in Brown Thomas, you're not getting tipped. So I think yes, it is. The industry has been amazing to me. It's brought me all around the world. I've been in Cuba thanks to the trade. I've been at the World Cup final. I've been in America a couple of times. So the bar trade is and I think that story isn't being told, that the hospitality industry is a career, is an amazing career. Like I was listening to the guy, he was talking from the Hotels Federation, and he was saying that general manager of a 5-star hotel is on about 250 grand. I was like,
wow.
Holy fucking shit, It's like I might go and reskill again, so
wow.
yeah, like I have a 5-star hotel, so, and do you know what, I can bring you invites to concert nights, and every night is different. So hospitality is an amazing industry, and it's not as hard as it was. Like, years ago you'd work morning, noon and night, you work all the weekends, but there's flexibility now. So if you got into a good progressive company, you could go really far and really well. And the LVA, which is Licensed Fitness Association, do training courses now, and they teach them the really good basics or whatever. So there's kind of management courses to bring people on. So if you have somebody in your business that you're like, this is a great guy or a girl, they help bring them on, and then you can fast track them. And the really smart people nowadays are putting the good managers on a bit of a share. That's the key, is to share the wealth so you can enjoy your life as well.
And you don't lose your good people.
No.
Yeah.
If you've got somebody good, buy Jay-Z's to hold on to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I know. Like we're
don't have to pay recruiters.
See, that's it. You don't want to pay me to come along and refill. Sure, I'll just add a load of cost to your business.
Yeah, and it ain't cheap.
And so your business model, so you own 3 of your 5 buildings and you lease 2.
Lease 2, yeah.
So what's the reasons behind owning versus leasing, and how important is owning?
Did you ever see the movie The Founder?
I need to watch it.
Michael Keating. So it's about Ray Kroc, who set up McDonald's.
Yeah. Okay.
And so when he was running McDonald's, well, he obviously stole it from the original 2 McDonald brothers, but he couldn't make any money. And he met a guy, and he's like, you don't realise, he said, you're not in the food business, you're in the property business. So they started to buy the property that they were renting. And he said, then they amassed this kind of property portfolio. And McDonald's is one of the biggest property portfolios in the world. For example, we owned the Bridge 1859, so I would have bought that 10 years ago, took out a 10-year loan, paid it down over the 10 years, even during COVID. And when McSorley's became available to buy, we then had the capacity to leverage Ball's Bridge to buy McSorley's. So when you pay down debt and you have property assets there, you can then roll and go again, because it gives the bank security. It gives you peace of mind and security. So we put obviously a good few bob down on McSorley's, but we also leveraged the bridge against it, and then we were able to buy McSorley's and rental it. Like, I still can't quite believe we own McSorley's and rental. I'd be there on a Saturday night, I'm like, holy shit, we actually own this place. Somebody comes up to me, they're like, are you the owner? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. Like, I am. That's amazing. So because myself and like Rob would be friendly, and we would have had beers in rental. Like, it's where we still go. Like, Humphreys is probably one of my favourite pubs, and Smith's is there, and it's great, and you can go up to McSorley's for a bit of crack at the end of the night and all that sort of stuff. And when an opportunity came along to buy it, the banks went with us because of we had property and we owned it.
Yeah, you've got assets. But how do you get? Okay, so you don't own properties. You've got a small business, but you see the merit. Like, how do you get that first step? Like, I'm sure the first step is the hardest.
So the first step is the hardest. So the first step is to save.
Yeah, okay.
And the first step is to save and work your ass off and have a deposit. The key for us was at the start is that I had the Grafton lounge going so well, I was able to put a chunk of change down to buy the bridge. So your loan ratio wasn't too high. So your banks are very cautious now ever since the last bang. So we rented to build up a fund to buy, and then when you buy, then you can go from there. But you need to work your ass off to save, or if somebody's lucky enough to inherit a lot of money, or whatever, or win the lotto, you use that as your starting point and then go from there.
Okay. So the first step is build up some capital, use it. And are they looking at the business history that you have as well, or is it purely around?
No, they definitely are looking at your history.
Yeah, okay.
They're looking at your history. So your track record of so you had that business to that, you got it to that. So because the bank will go to credit and go, no, he can do this, and this. So yeah, we first looked at some, the banks turned me down, and I went mental.
Okay.
And there was an awful lot of trouble in Bank of Ireland over it. And again, he was like, okay, well, if he goes again, we'll definitely back him. But they said no the first time.
Okay.
We looked, would you believe, Jesus, I never even thought about this now. We actually looked at buying the old Witherspoons in Black Rock, which was before it was Witherspoons, which I ended up buying years later. I never even thought about that until now. We got refused the money to buy that at the start. Why
were you refused?
I remember dealing with a guy called Eamon Gallagher, a really good guy in Bank of Ireland, and he went mental. And he was like, the next time I'll write so whatever, something went wrong in the banks. And he wasn't happy about it. So
you were being supported. It was an underwriting, and it was underwritten. They said no, but the bank manager wanted to back you guys.
Yeah,
okay.
So it still has to go to credit. So you have to be able to prove yourself. But even for a license, when you stand up in front of the judge, I've seen a good person get refused a license. He was like, well, you've no experience in the bar trade. You can't just go and run a public premises. He was like, which is proper order. So you have to have experience in the trade. So if I'm ever for example, when we got McSorley's and we're putting the license in our name, I'll get up and swear in a Bible, and I'll get asked by a barrister my history in the bar trade, which will go back to me serving my apprenticeship in the Blue Haven, leasing the Grafton Lounge, running all these other premises. So just like, your man knows what he's doing. Chair Licensed Vintner Association, and it's a box ticking exercise, but it has to happen. So yeah,
it's a full risk assessment. And what do you think is the biggest threat to your industry at the minute?
The government.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the government imposed costs are crippling businesses.
Okay.
The government are, yeah.
How is there a solution when you're talking about the government?
So the solution is to engage with them.
Okay.
To tell them to stop and to slow down. So the government are in a position where, and I understand this, they're trying to increase minimum wage and look after people and all that sort of stuff, but the money has to come from somewhere. There's no point them doing that and then putting businesses folding. There's no money in the restaurant industry whatsoever at the moment. I have a restaurant in town, I can't make any money out of it. Because the wages percentage is too high. The margin is under attack from inflation and increasing numbers. You're obviously paying rents. The price of energy has gone through the roof. So there's just no. So if you have a piece of pie, every time you're just taking money out of that pie, and you're left with nothing at the end. So the government have obviously put that back up, increased the minimum wage. There's now auto enrollment and pensions. They put in these supports, but I haven't been eligible for a lot of those supports because we were in the centre of the city, so we're paying higher rates. So they had a rate cap of, well, you'll get $5,000 if you're paying under €25,000. But sure, I was paying more than €25,000, so you were doubly hit. So I got punished, and I said this to Pascal Dunn, he didn't like it. So I'm being punished for having a bar in the centre of the city that's of a certain size. So when they went last year handing out the budget for hospitality last year was awful. We got nothing. There goes, it was, we've put in measures to help you. I didn't get any of those measures. So the government are the biggest threat. So I have a good buddy of mine owns the Palace on Fleet Street. He's just bought Bill Ahern's, which was I think it was off Fitzpatrick, on O'Connell Street. His biggest challenge is safety of people outside and the cleanliness of the streets, and are people going to be safe around it? It's not, will he get people, or can he get, is he good at his job, or does he know what he's doing? He 100% knows what he's doing. His biggest challenge is more policing outside the door to get rid of open drug dealing, retail crime, all that sort of stuff. So if the government really wanted to help us, they would bring in the VAT 9 immediately, stop loading all of these things at once, and they would keep supporting the guards who are doing an incredibly good job. And there's a new commissioner, I think is a good guy. The new chief that came into town is being a breath of fresh air, or assistant commissioner. More police for the centre of the city. I see Dublin City Council are waking up to more cleaners and all that sort of stuff. And we just have to have a zero tolerance policy on retail crime. And honestly, the gougers knocking around the streets that have came around since COVID and are still there. And you mentioned you've got a restaurant that's not making any money right now. Firstly, you retain it. Are you attempting to rebuild and create some profitability in it? So the problem is we have turnover. The issue isn't the turnover. The issue is the profitability out of the turnover. So we need to obviously pay the staff, have nice produce. So otherwise, if you don't give the customer a good experience, you'll be even in worse trouble.
Yeah.
So our wages are extremely high, and the profit is being hit because inflation is too high. So obviously we need the government to help bring back inflation and bring down the purchase of things, help us globally with the price of energy and regulating that.
Yeah.
Like, so last year we budgeted in BlackRock for our energy to be €50,000, and that was increased on the previous year. It came in at €115,000 for energy in BlackRock. So it's over $2,000 a week that we're spending on energy. So that's unsustainable. So these are the sort of things we need assistance with, stuff that's out of our control, you know. So helping profitable businesses be profitable, or, you know, good businesses with good turnover actually make money. Because profit isn't a dirty word in business, and it shouldn't be. You know, people should want our businesses to make profit, because if we're profitable, we're paying things. We give out wages every month, €110,000. So we put into the economy €1.2 million every year just on wages. So you imagine what we're spending on tax then as well. So people should want businesses to be successful. It shouldn't be a bad thing, because that tax then pays for guards and nurses and roads and all that sort of stuff, which what it should be. But entrepreneurs and business people should be supported. And the government constantly say that they're, and particularly, you know, and I know a lot of politicians, I think it was Fine Gael said they're the political party of kind of law and reform and pro-business. Well, let's see it.
Do you think that 9% will happen?
Latest I'm hearing is that it'll be the 1st of July if it does happen. And I'd be pretty close to a lot of that.
Yeah.
But a lot of businesses won't survive another what is it, 11 months, you know, so like it's that tight. Time. It's just that tight, you know.
What do you think is the future of the hospitality industry or the pub industry?
I'm always glass half full, believe it or not, after that conversation, but I am. I think it will probably get smaller. I think we'll continue to evolve and innovate. I think only the best will survive. I think you'll see country pubs continue to close, unfortunately. It's just a natural thing. You'll see pubs continue to shut. It's become very occasion driven. So so parties and functions and reservations are key to business now. So people going out for 30th or 40th, people are drinking less. So you need to evolve your non-alcoholic cocktail menu. You need to be doing more around bringing people in. So are you going back to days where we're putting in dartboards and pool tables and, you know, giant Jenga, and, you know, we do a quiz night in McSorley's, which is on a Thursday, incredibly busy. And we're starting to do musical bingo on a Tuesday, which is a bit of crack. So people are looking for different things, not just to go out. So you have to keep evolving. So if you stand an old school publican mentality, stand behind, geez, those were the days, dead and buried.
Wow. It's a fast-paced change. I think the hospitality industry, okay, if I was in recruitment in hospitality, I'd be gone. You know, I think I'm in recruitment in financial services, so it's probably more steady eddy and the change is happening, but it's slower. You have more time to adapt and plan. Yeah. When you reflect on what the cost of your career has been and what you've put into it, and you take a step back and look at personal sacrifices, where does that take you?
Into funny places in my head, but in the early years I didn't see that much of my kids, obviously. I've changed that now, and I'm very grateful for that. I was able to buy the house my girls are in now at 25, which 2 years after being accused of laundering money for the IRA, and coming out of that was pretty good, thanks to the Flynns helping me out and getting going. But yeah, look, I don't know. I want to be able to leave a legacy for my kids, that they'll have a leg up when they get going, but not to hand it all to them either. That they just have a leg up, that they're in a better position than I was. Not that saying I was in a bad childhood, or we didn't have that money, so that they have a house or whatever when they get going, rather than having to, you know, do what we had to do. But yeah, look, it's hard to know the journey, the toll it's had on me, but I enjoy it. I feel privileged. I get up and go again, and, you know, who knows what the future holds. And we have an exciting project coming in McSorley's in the next while, and we're doing a bit of work on upstairs. and that'll hopefully be open before Christmas. So we're always kind of moving. So we're always trying to look to evolve. I try and share the wealth around me with our staff, and I have a really good operations director. I appointed him on the board and gave him 1% share of the business as well. And he's a great guy, and try and keep good people around me, and then we'll just see where the journey goes. But you know, let's see what happens.
I feel like there's an energy and a hunger, and I feel like there's more to come. I feel like you're just getting started. Like you just found the way.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm 43 now, or 42. I'm 43 in a few weeks. So I don't know. Like it's like the second half of the book isn't written. So like let's see what happens. But paying down debt has been really important to me. So we were always slow and steady. We've moved quite fast over the last couple of years, just by the way things happen with the FBD money and whatnot. Buying BlackRock. So I don't know what will happen, but I want to enjoy life. I want my kids to be happy. I want to get back on my own 2 feet in certain other ways, and see what happens. But I think my businesses can help that happen. And we have loads of fun on the way. Like I was out for dinner with Rob on Monday in Butcher's Grill, so life isn't too bad.
No. And just before we wrap up, what sort of advice do you have for, you know, like your career is colourful. Like it's there's a lot, you know, you're still so young. So what advice, like drawing upon your experiences, can you share for people that are ambitious and career hungry?
Do something you're passionate about. Like, so don't do something that you don't want to do. So find something that makes you get up out of bed in the morning and figure out how you can make money out of it. Work hard, be good and nice to people, because it comes back around. If you have a dream, go after it. My kids have a little thing in the room is if you believe, or if you can think it, or something like that, or something nice from Disney. And it's like, go after things in life. You might have to start here, but there's loads of progression. Like there's so much opportunity in Ireland for people that are good at jobs, and they're like, oh man, that person's really good at that. They'll go up to the ranks, and then just find out what you really want to do and just go after it.
Yeah, that's good. Sometimes that's get lost. It gets lost in people just get caught up in a rat race nearly, and kind of lose sight of what purpose is.
Yeah. I was only chatting to somebody on the phone there today, and I said, well, to what end? What is it all about? So like, we're all going to die, so
just remember.
why damage your, like, stress is such a huge thing. And it's like probably linked to like cancers and all these sort of things. Stress is a huge killer, this silent killer. So, Jesus, life is too short,
Yeah, it's a good attitude. And 3 fun questions, Noel, to wrap up. Okay. Now you've got to dig deep for these.
Right. Okay.
If you were stuck on a desert island, what 3 items would you bring and why?
Can I bring my 2 kids?
No.
Right. I was going to say bring my 2 kids.
Okay, yes, but then what other 3 items?
Bring my 2 kids and a phone to ring for help. I would have to bring my phone, because that's effectively my office.
Yeah.
People are like, well, where's your office? I'm like, there. Probably a pint.
Just one?
Well, I bring a bar.
A bar, yeah.
A bar, maybe my AirPods, because I like to go walking.
Yeah, okay. And what was the last book or podcast that you listened to? Last book you read or podcast you listened to?
The last podcast I listened to was Sharon O'Bucla on your one. So big fan of Sharon. She's Jamie's mother-in-law. Sharon is one of the greats, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm not a huge reader, but I read Johnny Sexton's book, so I obviously know Johnny pretty well through the lads. He plays football with Rob on a Wednesday with Fergus McFadden, so I just found that interesting. So yeah.
And if you're hosting a dinner party, what 3 guests would you bring?
Roy Keane.
Okay.
Because I think it'd be a bit of fun. Don't know if these 3 would gel together. I find American politics fascinating. I think what's going on at the moment is disgraceful and horrendous. So I'd be interested in Barack Obama and Robert De Niro.
Okay. Oh wow, that's a fun. Can I go to that? That
I don't know what I'll get on, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.